I can't hear. If you can hear me, I
I
have
think I
lost
got
you.
it fixed here. Matt Hardy with me, and I believe it's working now. Matt, welcome. How are you?
Yes. Very good. How are you today?
Good. Let me apologize for the technical issues, and I'll redo the intro so it sounds good on the podcast. Hi and hello and welcome everyone to 2 Men On. I, of course, am Fred Slow. Joining me today is a professional wrestler who has shaped this thing for over 3 decades. One of the most creative minds that has done it. A guy who's made the business catch up to him. Tag team wrestling, doing it on his own, and currently doing it at the highest level with TNA. Matt Hardy, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
Thank you, man. I am very excited to be coming out to Albuquerque. I love Albuquerque. And I'm telling you, man, right now, even before we start, I'm going to lay out the challenge. Myself and Jeff, we would love, considering Breaking Bad was shot in Albuquerque,
Yeah.
we would love to take on Walter White, Heisenberg, and Gus Fring whenever we come to Albuquerque.
I believe it can be arranged. I know all of the individuals that were big contributors they're here all the time. Like if you go to a AAA baseball game with the Isotopes, you go to Ice Wolves hockey game, there's always an appearance by someone. And that speaks a lot, right, to fandom. And that's a big part of your success over your career is being able to capture those fans at a young age, and they've grown with you. Talk to me a little bit, Matt, in your time through every promotion that you've been a part of, and now your time with TNA, watching fans be able to celebrate you for the last 25, 30 years.
Yeah, it's been insane, but it's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey. Myself and my brother, we have been on TV straight constantly for 28 years, which
That's
is
crazy.
wild. You know, we started wrestling in 1992. We won our first World Tag Team title in 1990, 1999. So we have held all major titles. We've held WWE titles. We've held TNA titles. We've held all major titles in the 90s, in the 2000s, in the 2010s, and now in the 2020s. So we're still rocking and rolling. And man, it's so cool because I meet people. I met someone just at a Comic-Con this weekend.
Yep.
And she was 38 years old. And her daughter, females, girls, her and her daughter are now the biggest Hardy Boys fan. And she introduced her daughter to the Hardy Boys. And she said, I watched them as a kid, you know, when I was 10 years old. And then I grew up with them and I saw them do the ladder matches and the TLC matches and everything they did. They both won singles championships. And now her daughter's the biggest fan. And they're going back and they're watching these old matches. And now they watch TNA every single week. And they are so excited about the AMC debut this Thursday that we're doing that is going to be in Dallas. And then we'll be live with TNA Impact in Albuquerque the following Thursday.
Well, and how important it is to tell them what to be excited about, right? Because TNA debuts on AMC, that is on Thursday night, starting January the 15th, 9 p.m. Eastern. So here in Albuquerque, that's going to be a 7 start. AMC is TNA's new television home in the U.S. AMC will feature Thursday Night Impact as a 2-hour block. You know the action that TNA puts on, some of the greatest champions in the country, and you can catch the Hardys there. And then, of course, if you're not in Dallas, you can find them back-to-back tapings here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the 22nd through 23rd. Tickets are available for that one. Come see us. And Matt, I think you're aware, and if not, I'll tell you right now, you know, I'm so very fortunate to be the owner of NWA New Mexico. You know, I'm so very fortunate in my radio career to also pretend to slum as a pro wrestling promoter. And I know my fan base has been as excited about this as anything else. Can you talk a little bit about how fans are able to navigate all the different promotions and follow their favorite performers regardless of where they're at?
It is amazing. There is so much wrestling right now. Wrestling truly is in a boom period. There's wrestling on virtually every single night, and it's so cool. And I love to see it. And I love the fact that TNA has found its way back. Myself and my brother, TNA has been very good to us. We call TNA our home, as well as WWE. They gave us our initial start, but TNA has given us so many chances to really think outside of the box, you know, kind of make our own music as we did with the Broken Universe when I became Broken Matt Hardy and my brother was Brother Nero. And that totally rejuvenated our career. That kind of was a game changer for us. And I feel like us being on AMC is going to be a game changer for TNA. And we're back in the mix. We're on the top level with every other promotion out there. And I think the TNA roster right now, I think our locker room is the best locker room I've been in ever. They are hungry, they are motivated, and they are driven. And TNA is going to be a force to be reckoned with in 2026.
Yeah, top to bottom, one of the most recognizable rosters in all of professional wrestling, and you guys are doing it. You were talking a little bit about being able to sing your own songs, write your own music, and perform your own way. Talk to me a little bit about the balance of knowing when it's time to make a change in a gimmick and when it's time to double down. How do you identify that as a performer?
I mean, the internet is not what you listen to. You can't base an authentic reaction off of the internet and what people say on social media. Those reactions are based off what you hear in the arenas. When people buy tickets and they come to your shows and they want to be entertained, they want to watch wrestling. When those people are excited, you can tell that you're moving in the right direction. If your reaction seems to lessen and it is starting to go on, it is starting to descend and it's starting to get a little lesser, that's when it's time to think about refreshing yourself, maybe reinventing yourself, maybe repackaging yourself. And that's something that's very important, especially when you've been doing this on TV straight for 28 years, like myself and my brother have. You have to realize that there are times where you've done an act and it's kind of getting stale, and you have to freshen it up. You have to put a new coat of paint on, so to say, to make it something new and something interesting and fresh. Because, sure, we're always going to be Matt Hardy. My brother's going to be Jeff Hardy. We're always going to be the Hardy Boys. But we can always present ourselves differently with new and fresh and creative ideas. And I feel like that's one thing I have, and my brother as well, we've both been very good at doing.
And you're talking about fresh and direction, and I think you might be the best example in the industry of being able to speak to this next question, which is you've gone from WWF back to WWE. You've gone from TNA back to TNA, a cup of coffee with the NWA and the stuff you've done on the indies and AEW and all related. Can you talk to me a little bit about how different TNA is this time from last time? And can you talk to me a little bit about how different those other promotions have been when you've returned?
Yeah, I mean, TNA is very different this time. And a lot of the people that work in the office have said this is the best management they've had. Great. Carlos Silva came in. He was a guy, it was his job to grow TNA, to get us on a major media platform. And he did that. And he gets it. He understands business. He understands what makes money. He understands what draws. And he's been working so hard to put more people in the arenas, sell more tickets, put more eyeballs on our product. And it's worked. And the team that we have there gets it. Myself and Jeff, we're two guys that have traveled all over the world. Nick Nemeth is another guy who is a guy who's traveled all over the world. He was a big part of the boom of TNA as well. Joe Hendry, who has now moved on to WWE, but he is a big part of that boom also. And this partnership, TNA and WWE, NXT working together has all been a part of TNA's boom. But I can tell you this, TNA really stands out from everybody else. And I think you're going to see TNA carve its own identity these first few weeks. These are the formative weeks, right, of the AMC era with TNA. And I really do think we are going to carve out our own niche, and you're going to see TNA do things that are a little bit different, and I'm super excited about it, and I'm super happy that our second live episode is going to be in Albuquerque, New Mexico, because Albuquerque is very dear to my heart. I have a match I had with Eddie Guerrero in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is one of my favorite matches of all time. And just the memory of being in that match and the magic of working with him was so great. Yeah. So I have a lot of great memories from Albuquerque. It's a great wrestling city. And if you are a wrestling fan in Albuquerque, you want to be out at TNA on both the 22nd and the 23rd. They're both going to be great nights of wrestling action.
I always mention every time Eddie Guerrero's name comes up, we're talking about New Mexico Highlands grad, Eddie Guerrero. That's who we're talking about. Let's go. Little Eddie Guerrero up on the program. You were telling stories of, I think you said 28 years consecutively on television in one capacity or the other. And you're talking about some names, Nick Nemeth and Joe Hendry and some of these guys that have traveled the world and are now in veteran positions to mentor others. But there was a time, Matt, when you were a mentoree. There was a time when someone was helping you along the road. They identified you as the next guy. Have you identified the next guy in pro wrestling? Who is the guy that's going to continue the Hardy energy legacy throughout pro wrestling for maybe the next 30 years? And are they in TNA?
One guy that's in TNA that is definitely going to be a game changer, and he's going to be a major star, is Leon Slater. Okay. And he's a guy that grew up a huge Hardy Boys fan. And it makes me so proud that he is so excited and happy to be on the same roster with myself and Jeff. I wish you could have seen his reaction when he saw Jeff show up at Against All Odds, when he showed up to help me at the very end of my match with the system. Leon Slater is going to be a force to be reckoned with. And everybody in pro wrestling is going to be trying to get their hands on this guy because he is going to be a top player. And the thing I can say about him, he's 21 years old, but mentally, when you speak to him and the way he understands the art of professional wrestling, you feel like he's in his 30s, like he's had, a decade of experience. So he is going to be a standout player for TNA.
Do you feel as if you are introducing pro wrestling for the first time to a lot of fans? You know, in my experience in the indie promotion world, I have a lot of young fans that have never been to a show. There was the COVID pandemic. There was the time when you were wrestling in front of no people in venues. Do you recognize that you are often the first experience for a lot of young kids as they're falling in love with the industry?
I do. I mean, we hear that all the time too. And we also hear how we got so many kids in trouble because they were doing swanton bombs and leg drops
Yes.
on the couch or onto their bed, and they would break their couch and they would break their bed. And then their mom would like spank them, you know, and their dad would ground them. You know, there were a lot of kids that got in trouble. You know, I think WWE, they had to put up that whole don't do this, don't try this at home because of our, you know, our story and our history of doing wrestling in our backyard. We were both kind of self-trained, and those videos are part of the things that I feel like made us very attainable to most people. And there's so many people that have been influenced by us, which is so cool and so amazing. And Jeff and I, we're just grateful, dude. We're two people from a podunk town, Cameron, North Carolina, and you know, there's less than 200 people live in the city limits. We had no connections. We didn't know anybody in the wrestling business, and we just had this larger than life dream, and we chased it down, and we obtained it. You know, we attained this dream, and we made it. We did pretty damn well for ourselves. I can say that, you know, after being in this business now we just entered our 34th year in 2026.
Wow. Yeah, how incredible. I tell you, my Hardy phase, it was not just me, it was me and my brother, but it was basically dress only. It was just the apparel that we wore. It was pants that were too big and shirts that were too tight. And my family does not think fondly of those Christmas photos from years gone by. That was your fault. You did that.
I love it. I love to hear it.
I know you do. You're coming to town. You're coming to Albuquerque the 22nd and 23rd. TNA Pro Wrestling. That's over at Tingley Coliseum for those in the area. Tickets are available for that, so make the effort there. Before that, you're in Dallas, and it is the debut of Thursday Night Impact. That's going to be a special one. TNA Genesis, Saturday the 17th. That's at the Curtis Colwell Center in Dallas. All those tickets are also on sale. Do not forget AMC Plus. Also, TNA has a plus. If you check that out, it's a really cool outlet for pro wrestling. It can be obtained there, and you'll enjoy the access because it's a special thing. I'm going to shift you real quick to the Indies, right? Because that's my world. That's where I live, NWA New Mexico, and bringing in, you know, some of the best talent I think in the Southwest region down here. Can you talk a little bit about the Southwest style of pro wrestling? Does it feel different whenever you match up with a guy that maybe came up like Eddie did in El Paso or the Phoenix area or similar? Does it feel different than guys from the Carolinas or maybe the Northeast?
You know, it's different. Usually people are kind of geared towards where they trained at or where they learn the fundamentals, you know, and there's some schools that they teach things different fundamentally. But sometimes when you get in the ring with guys that are different from you, that's where you end up learning the most.
Love that.
You know, I can tell you this, like Michael Hayes is the most influential guy, you know, in myself and Jeff's career, no doubt about it, because he actually told us, like, people in the first few rows, in the first 4 or 5 rows, they know you can do all these beautiful moves. You guys can do all the flips. You do the poetry in motion. You do the swanton bomb. You do the moonsault mat, whatever. But like, can you really beat somebody up? Can you really punch somebody and knock them out? Can you kick them and beat them down? Like, people need to be able to see that aggression and that physicality in the ring, and that needs to come off. And he really taught us he told us a lot of great tips that really helped us lean into that and become a lot more believable. And I think that was one of the key things to us finally getting over. And then, you know, getting to work with guys like The Undertaker, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H. I learned so much from each one of those guys. And I was blessed to work with all 3 of those guys many times over the course of my career. And it's funny, they all kind of bring different things to, you know, they bring different things to the table. And it's cool. You take a little bit from everyone and you kind of learn how to weave that into yourself a little bit.
You know, you're naming a lot of individuals that you revere, right? These are a lot of individuals that have been contributors to you professionally, and undoubtedly they have that same opinion of you. Whenever they do give opinion to you, what is the thing that brings the biggest smile to your face? What is the feedback you get from your peers and previous mentors that makes Matt Hardy feel like Matt Hardy has made an impact on the industry?
I mean, the fact that they're so proud. I mean, we did a thing where we had 30 years once we hit the 30-year mark in pro wrestling. And there was a special video put together for me. Undertaker was in it. And he said, "I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of how far you've come, everything you've done." Your journey's been remarkable. I mean, because Jeff and I, we are guys who didn't have any connections. We started out as enhancement talent, and we didn't have any kind of guarantee on anything. We were enhancement talent, and we just busted our ass and worked so hard and just worked our way up the ladder. I mean, we literally started from the bottom, and and now we're here, and now we're where we're at. I can tell you this: like I saw Shawn Michaels when we went back to NXT, and we won the NXT tag team titles. Shawn Michaels is a guy myself and Jeff we grew up idolizing. He was highly influential in us and how we would work and our style, and he inspired us because he became a top guy and a WWE champion. Someone who was a little bit smaller, but he was very athletic, very acrobatic. And Shawn Michaels said, "You know what?" He said, "I'm going to tell you guys, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy of everything you've done." And he's even told my brother, "I'm so happy of how you're happy in your personal life. But I want to tell you this: if there's any tag team in the history of wrestling that deserves to get a retirement run like John Cena did, being considered the GOATs," he said, "it's you guys." And for that kind of praise to come from Shawn Michaels to us, a guy that we idolize, was very, very special. So yeah, man, there's so many guys that are just so kind. And both Jeff and I, we wake up every single day of our lives and we're blessed because we're living our dream. We go to work as pro wrestlers and it doesn't even feel like work. It feels like it's something we would go do for free. But we get to go do it and we get to make a living and a career out of it. So we both feel very blessed.
Yeah, and a little anecdotal to that story, and this is one maybe, more at a venue or off a recording I would talk to you about, but I was so very fortunate to be in Washington for John Cena's final match, and I was so very fortunate to be in the building. And yeah, the energy that surrounded that was as unique as any of the dozen WrestleManias I went to or any of the NWA events or TNA events or AEW events. It was when the back cleared out, when those couple hundred people that you never see on the television screen came out to celebrate him. Bone. It was like chilling. It was incredible. But I know that's not necessarily an interview question. That's more of a
but I agree. What's funny about pro wrestling, and enough because you're involved in it, right?
Yeah.
There are moments in pro wrestling, much like that one, where all those guys come out to honor John and show him reverence. It's a real moment. It's a real moment showing how hard he's worked and his career and how much of his success he's been and how much he has contributed to pro wrestling. And they are honoring him in that moment. And it is chilling because that is as real as it gets. Like there are moments in pro wrestling where the reality of a moment kicks in and it makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. No doubt about it. That was one of those moments. When Jeff and I returned at WrestleMania 33, that was one of those moments. That reaction, that reception we got. We have been blessed with so many great moments. Just even coming to TNA and TNA growing and this resurgence they have been on, and now the fact that we're on AMC, we're doing live TVs on a regular basis now. It's amazing, and I am so proud for the company, and I'm so happy for the industry, and I'm so happy that Jeff and I are in TNA. It feels like we're exactly where we're supposed to be.
I got one final question for you, Matt Hardy, before I cut you loose, and this one is self-serving, so be ready. I, of course, as the owner of NWA New Mexico, an indie promotion, I've seen a lot of them, right? Can you maybe smarten me up on what you think is maybe not the single most, but a very important tip for an indie promotion? What is in your opinion, in your time as you've been exposed to them, what is the one thing a good indie promotion always does?
I think a good indie promotion is very consistent.
Yeah.
I think from show to show, they try and keep continuity as good as possible. You pick a handful of guys that you really want to highlight and try and turn into your draws that will get people to buy tickets every single, week or month or every couple of months, however often you run. I just think consistency and continuity and like training your audience. These are the guys, these are the stories. This is why you should like this character. This is why you should be emotionally invested in him because he is on this journey to overcome this awful, terrible champion who is like right now holding the company under tyranny. You train people to get emotionally invested in those stories and these characters, and you consistently and keep great continuity with that. I think it's a winning formula.
Thank you for giving us a few minutes, Matt, the way that you give the industry, basically your entire adult life and the excitement of your childhood before that. Give me your final words before I let you loose, my friend.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Give me your final thoughts before I cut you loose.
Got you. My final thoughts are this. In Albuquerque, TNA is coming there, and this is a brand new, a different version of TNA. It's the best version of TNA there's ever been. On January the 22nd, we're going to be live. January the 23rd, we're going to be taping for the following week. I want you to be there. And myself and Jeff, Ross, the boss, he works us very hard. He never lets us off a post-show meet and greet. We'll be signing autographs. We'll be meeting, greeting, and deleting after both shows. And I want to see all my people from New Mexico. I love New Mexico. I love Albuquerque. I want to see you guys there. I want you to come out and check out TNA, because if you haven't seen TNA in years, you're going to be blown away by the product we're delivering currently.
The doors are open at Tingley Coliseum, January the 22nd and 23rd. Tickets are available. Matt Hardy will be there. Matt, thank you, brother.
Thank you so much, bro. Appreciate it.